Last night, as I was lounging in my living room, I found myself engrossed in some chilling tales about the black-eyed children and the real-life men in black. It was around 1 in the morning, and the atmosphere was perfectly eerie for such stories. My dog suddenly went to the door, indicating he needed to go outside. As I began to rise from my seat, he started growling at the door, which was highly unusual. He had never growled at anything before, being just 6 months old. Almost simultaneously, my other dog, who is a year old, jumped onto the couch, trembling and whining. This reaction from my pets unnerved me since I was already feeling a bit on edge from reading the creepy stories. I decided to stay put on the couch and held my older dog close, trying to calm her down. Then, out of nowhere, a knock came at the door. Typically, my dogs go wild when there's a knock, barking and whining excitedly because they love people. However, this time, my 6-month-old puppy ran away from the door and came to me. My heart began to race, and I felt a wave of terror wash over me. The house was dark, with all the lights off and the curtains drawn. Since I don't have a peephole, I decided to peek through the blinds of the window behind me that overlooks the porch. To my shock, I saw 2 boys standing there. One looked to be around 5 years old, and the other seemed to be about 12. They both had their heads down and were dressed in winter clothes, wearing heavy jackets. This struck me as odd because it was the middle of summer. As I watched, they both looked up at me. Without a porch light, I couldn't see their faces clearly, but I could tell they were looking directly at the window. This increased my fear, so I moved away from the window and sat back on my couch, trying to process what was happening. I had heard that if you knew about the black-eyed children, they would visit you. This thought kept echoing in my mind. Then, one of the boys spoke. "Ma'am, can you let us in? It's really cold out here, and my brother is hungry." I didn't move or reply. The fact that they knew I was a woman alarmed me even more. What were 2 young kids doing out at this time of night anyway? Moreover, it was June in Alabama, and the weather was far from cold. I recalled the stories and thought, "Nope, not going to answer the door." The boy spoke again. "Ma'am, please let us in. I saw you through the window. I know you're there. It will only take a moment." This sent a chill down my spine. A moment? What kids say that? I was frozen in fear and refused to respond. I waited for them to leave, not daring to look out the window again, convinced they were right next to it, staring back at me with pitch black eyes. After a few seconds of silence, the boys started pounding on my window. The same voice pleaded, "Let us in, please. It's cold. We have to call our mom. She'll be worried if we don't call her." At this point, I was almost in tears. I leaned back against the arm of my couch, hugging my legs to my chest. There was no way I was going to answer that door. I stayed in that position for about half an hour, waiting for the boys to leave and the house to become quiet again. I never saw their eyes, so I can't be sure if they were black-eyed children, but I strongly believe they were. Once I felt safe, I grabbed my phone and called my friend, who had suggested I read the stories. I woke her up and begged her to come stay the night with me. After I explained what had happened, she agreed immediately. About 20 minutes later, I started to worry because she still hadn't arrived, even though she lived on the next street over. Then I saw headlights in my driveway and looked out the window. My friend got out of the car and ran to my door, banging on it urgently. I let her in immediately, and she was crying, her face filled with terror. She said, "You aren't going to believe this, but I swear to God, I just encountered the 2 kids you told me about." She explained that she was at a stop sign and had checked her phone for a second when a kid knocked on her window, startling her. The street lights were out, so she couldn't see his face, but there was another younger kid behind him. She cracked the window open, already feeling apprehensive, and asked, "Can I help you?" The kid replied, "Give us a ride," in a demanding, overly confident voice for a child. She didn't say anything, and the kid stepped closer to her car. As he got nearer, she noticed his jet black eyes, wall-to-wall black with no white. She felt an inexplicable pull into his stare, almost opening her door before snapping out of it. She then gunned the gas pedal and drove straight to my house. We stayed up together for the rest of the night, too scared to sleep. According to the stories, these black-eyed children usually visit more than once, so I'm planning to take a lot of melatonin and try to sleep through the night, in case they decide to come again. Whether you believe me or not, this really happened here in Huntsville. My advice: lock your doors and windows and ignore any child that comes to your door asking for help, especially at night.